and welcome back to my channel. I've had a crazy busy week and I'm finally over my cold. I'm feeling so much better and I've drank so much lemon and honey and it definitely helped. Aurora has been sleeping like a dream in her new cot. For those of you who watched my previous video, you would have seen Dee putting up the cot for her, and yeah, she seems to have way more room and has just been sleeping much better. So it has been smiles all round. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about my breastfeeding journey, how it's been from the very start to how it is now. It has only been 3 months, so I don't know everything about breastfeeding. I'm not saying that I do at all, but I just want to share with you guys my experience and how it's been. So I'll start from the very beginning. Aurora was born at 9 in the morning and pretty much throughout the day she just slept, and the midwives told me every 4 hours you need to wake her to feed her. So that's what I would do, and I kind of woke her up, tried to get her to latch on, and it was kind of like she'd get frustrated, try and drink a bit and just fall asleep. So I remember being like tired but really trying to get her to feed on me, and it was kind of, we were both just exhausted. And so throughout the day she pretty much slept, and then it got to the evening time and I was really lucky because I was given my own room in the labour ward, and my boyfriend was sitting with me for hours and hours and hours, and I remember it got quite late into the evening, about 8 o'clock, and I said, you should just go home because tomorrow you'll be much more used if you've had a good night's sleep in our bed rather than trying to sleep on a tiny chair. And I was like, she's been really good, so I'll just wake her up, feed her, and then I'll go to sleep anyway. Little did I know, at about 9 o'clock she decided to wake by herself and she started crying, so I was like, okay, she must want to feed. So I got her out and started to try and get her to latch on. Now, the midwives had told me when my boyfriend left that if you need anything, ring the bell. I don't think they realised I was going to ring it as often as I did when they said that, but they were amazing. I must have rang the bell 100 times and every time they kept coming, because my idea behind this was that I wanted to know exactly how to get her to latch on because I wanted to go home the next day. So I knew there was no point being shy and kind of, you know, trying to work it out myself. I wanted someone to show me and teach me how to do it. And they were more than happy to. So from about 9 o'clock at night until 8 the next morning, Aurora did something called cluster feeding. So she just wanted to feed. She probably slept for 20 minutes in between these big feeds, and then she would just feed. So by 8 the next morning, I not only was exhausted, but I was so sore. I remember almost on the verge of crying because I didn't know how to make this any better. And I remember saying to Dunstan, is it going to be like this forever? Because if it is, I don't know if I can breastfeed, and this is something that I really wanted to do. But I was like, I don't know if I can do it. Anyway, the midwives kept saying to me, you probably have it in the wrong position because it shouldn't hurt. Now, my midwives were really good, but this is the only thing I would kind of say, I personally think it would have, even if I had had her in a perfect position, it was still going to hurt. It was something my body's never done. Your nipples are so sensitive anyway that I think it was always going to hurt. And I think for new mums, the first day or couple of days or weeks is always going to be a bit sore. Even if you've got it in the right position, it's still going to hurt a little bit. But you know, if you kind of expect it, it's much better. Rather than I was being told, you must have your baby in the wrong position, which every time they would check, they'd say, oh, hang on a minute, she is in the right position. So I think you kind of have to go in with the headset that it is going to hurt a little bit when you start out. So luckily, we managed to get her feeding and all seemed well, apart from I was sore. She was doing really well. So the next day, the midwife said, you can go home. So we went home, and the midwife came a couple of days later and was checking the progress and everything like that. And she said, in the next day or two, your milk's going to come in. Now, I finally kind of got to the grips with, you know, the pain of my boobs. My boobs were so sore, I was starting to use creams, and everything was starting to feel a little bit better. And then when she said that, I was like, sorry, it's going to hurt some more. This didn't wasn't kind of what I wanted to hear, but I knew it was all positive and I knew it was a good thing. That once my milk would come in, as soon as I got on with that, things would regulate. So I prepared for the worst, and the next day I woke up and my boobs were honestly triple the size they've ever been, and I felt like my nipples were about to ping off and I was leaking milk everywhere. And when I say everywhere, everywhere. It really was everywhere. Every time Aurora would cry, or even if I heard someone else cry, my boobs would just start leaking milk because they thought the baby needed it. So I remember at this point thinking, oh my God, is it going to be like this forever? And my midwife started to say, calm, it will all be fine, everything's good, she will start regulating the feeds. And for me, this was kind of the hardest bit of it all. After this, it got easier. I remember at this point, my boyfriend had gone to make us food, so he'd gone downstairs and Aurora had just gone and dirtied her nappy. So I was like, it's fine, I'll clean it. I'd been walking around with no top on to let my boobs air, and kind of, you know, my nipples were so sore that I just needed some air. So I stopped wearing any bras and I was just walking around, so I was like, okay, it's fine, I'll clean her nappy. I started to clean her nappy and then she started weeing everywhere, and I was like, okay, stay calm now. Then once I cleaned her, she started pooing everywhere. At this point she starts crying and my boobs just start leaking milk everywhere. And I remember just sitting there thinking, my life feels like a midlife crisis, Bridget Jones style. That is honestly how I felt. But after that, everything got so much easier. I started to use some creams. I used a really good nipple cream. I can't remember what it's called, but I will find it and I'll link it below. It was so good. Now, I was extremely generous with how much of this I was putting on. And I think this is why I didn't really struggle too much with cracked nipples, because as soon as I started to feel they were sore, I was applying this before she fed, after she fed, even when she wasn't feeding, I was coating myself in this stuff. And I did that for about a week. And even now, if I start to feel any sort of pain around my nipples, like sore nipples, I put it on, and I put a lot of it on, and it's really, really good. Now, in terms of like the leaking boobs, this didn't last for very long for me. I think part of the reason why I kind of had this is I wasn't wearing a bra, and the pressure of my maternity bras now are a lot tighter. It kind of holds everything in. So I think the pressure of it stopped them leaking, if that makes sense. But you can get nipple, like breast pads anywhere, and they're so good. I did kind of find that they made my nipples a bit sore, but I don't know if that's just the ones that I was using, I'm not sure. But everyone I know who's had babies and breastfeed has sworn by breast pads, so they definitely help with the leaking. In terms of after that, things got easier. My boobs started to regulate. Aurora stopped cluster feeding, so things were, you know, she was feeding for how much she wanted, so then my milk was coming to how much she was going to drink. Occasionally now, when she starts to have growth spurts and things like that, my boobs, she starts cluster feeding and my boobs do fill up a bit, but I can use breast pumps and things like that. So if your boobs do ever feel like they have too much milk in or anything like that, you can express a bit if you want to, which you can use later, or you don't have to use it if you just want to breastfeed. But breast pumps, even if you aren't going to use the bottle and, you know, actually give it to them, is a good way of relieving some of the milk, because every now and again your boobs might fill up. Every now and again they might feel cracked, but just apply the cream. And I think at first I wasn't very discreet about when I was breastfeeding. It would kind of be like my whole boob would come out. I wasn't really, you know, sure of how to go about things. I remember the first couple of times of going out or even seeing like people I knew, when I'd have to feed Aurora, I would kind of feel not uncomfortable, but not sure how to go about it. I wasn't sure how to discreetly breastfeed. Now this comes partly from practice. The whole thing comes partly from practice, because you cannot learn how to breastfeed perfectly overnight. It doesn't happen like that. It takes a good month to really get to terms with it. It's not just you learning, it's you and your baby. So your baby's got to learn what it's doing. It doesn't know. It might instinctively have an idea of what to do, but it doesn't know exactly how to do it. It's all something that takes a bit of practice, but once you get it, it is, you know, quick fire. You can do it fast, it's easy, and it is convenient. And 1 second, Baba has just awakened. Hi. So Daddy is at football, so Mummy is on duty, and Princess Aurora has awoken from her nap. Say hello. So yeah, I hope this video has been somewhat helpful. You know, my journey breastfeeding has really only just begun, and I do have a lot to learn, and hopefully I can share more with you all. And I just want to really quickly say that if you are struggling or you do want help, there's so many groups that you can go to and they can help you. Like I said, sometimes it can be something as simple as just slightly wrong in positioning. Oh, Baba. So, you know, if you need help, make sure you go and get it. It is there. And good luck.
Some live for the bill, some kill for the bill.